Alright, here in 6 and 7 we're using Descartes' rules of signs and the rational root theorem to find all the zeros and then factor it to get all the zeros complete. Okay, so Descartes' signs, we're looking at the change in the signs from one term to the next. So to figure out how many possible positive zeros there are, I'm looking at the signs of each term. So this is a positive going to a negative, so that's one change. Then we have a negative going to a negative, that's no change. A negative going to a positive, that's another change. So we have two or zero positive zeros. Negative zeros, we need to actually replace the x with negative x and then look at how those signs change. So when we do that, we get negative x cubed. This negative x squared is positive x squared, but it's still multiplied by negative 3, so it stays negative 3x squared. This becomes a positive 6x and a plus 8. Now let's look at those changes in signs. There's nothing here. Negative to a negative. Negative to a positive is a change. Positive to a positive is no change. So how many negative zeros do we have? Just one. Okay, now we're going to figure out what are the numbers for the possibilities for the zeros, and that's the rational root theorem. And the rational root theorem says to look at my p-value and my q-value. My p-value is the constant at the very end, which is the 8. So what are factors for 8? Plus 1 and 8, 4 and 2. What are my possibilities of q? That's the number that's in front of that leading coefficient, which is a 1x cubed, which is a 1. So plus minus 1. I need to divide the p by q to get all my possible zeros. So I could have a possibility of a 1, of an 8, of a 4, and a 2. Alright, so to figure out the zeros, I need to just choose and pick and see which one works when I do synthetic division and divide. So I'm going to write my coefficients. I got a 1, a negative 3, a negative 6, and an 8. I'm going to let's try 1 on the outside first. So I'm going to bring down that 1, multiply, 1 times 1 is 1, negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2, multiply, I get negative 8, negative 8 times 1 is negative 8. Oh, so I got lucky there. I actually picked out the right zero. So one of my zeros is 1. Okay, now the result that I got here, let's write it. That would be x squared minus 2x minus 8. I could definitely factor that into what? Let's see. A negative 4 times a positive 2 gives me a negative 8, and at the same time will add up to negative 2. So I got my zeros of 1, 4, and negative 2. And the completely factored form would be x minus 4, x plus 2, and then don't forget the 1 that I got from the beginning. That would be x minus 1. So there's the completely factored form for number 6. Alright, let me rewrite number 7 now over here. We have x cubed minus x squared minus 10x minus 8. Alright, we're going to go through the same process again. Let's figure out our positive zeros. So let's look at the change in the signs. So we got one change here. No change from negative to negative. No change there. So there's only one possible positive zero. Let's look at our negative zeros. Alright, we need to first plug in negative x. So let's see, negative x cubed, negative x squared, minus 10 times negative x, minus 8. So this becomes a negative x to the third, minus x squared, positive 10x, minus 8. So now let's look at the change in those signs. So this is no change. Here's one change. Here's another change. So how many possible negative zeros? 2 or 0 negative zeros. Okay, we got those two. Now let's talk about P and Q. Okay, so P here is again 8. So same factors as before from the other problem. Negative 1 times 8, negative 4 and 2. My Q value is the leading coefficient, which is 1. So it's positive 1 and negative 1. Divide. So it's everything else that I had from the other problem. Plus minus 1, plus minus 8, plus minus 4, plus minus 2. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do our synthetic division and see which one works. Okay, so I got let's see, I got 1, -1, 1, oops, 1, -1, -10, -8. Is that right? Yes. 1, -1, -10, -8. Okay. So I'm going to try, let's try 1 again. See if that one works. Bring this down. 1 times 1 is 1. That's 0. 0. -10. Nope, doesn't work. That gives me a -18. Okay, erase. Let's try -1. -1. Okay, bringing down that first number. -1. -2. 2. That gives me -8. -8 times -1 is 8. Okay, so that one works with a remainder of 0. So one of my zeros is -1, which would make it x plus 1. Okay, let's look at the result, which is this. How do I write that? X squared minus 2x minus 8. Again, we're factoring it. So it's -4 and +2. So my other zeros are 4 and -2 if I was to solve it. So my whole factored form would be x plus 1, x minus 4, x plus 2. And then here are all my zeros.